welcome to class today. The theme of today's class is contentment, and our class is going to be a little bit shorter than usual. You'll only really need one prop, so that could be a block or a book, and you could grab that and you could come to sit on that now for the beginning of class, and we might use it again a little bit later. But we'll get started straight away and we'll come to our cross-legged position, or we can come to just sit on our knees if that's a little bit more comfortable. And then we're going to close down the eyes. We're going to sit up really nice and tall, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing any tension from the jaw. And we're just going to take our attention to the breath. So we're just noticing in the body where the breath is today. So maybe we feel like we're breathing into the belly or into the chest. Maybe our breaths are long or short, fast or slow. And just take a moment to settle into class. Just take our attention to our breath. And then we'll see if we can elongate our exhale. So we're just going to breathe out for a little bit longer than we breathe in. So we'll breathe in, nice long slow out breath. And we'll just do a few of those. Remember to keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. And make sure that our breathing's nice and relaxed too. So if that doesn't feel nice and calm and relaxing breathing that way, you could just come back to your normal breath. Okay, and then we'll open our eyes. We're going to raise our arms all the way up. Take our gaze up towards our hands, and then we'll bring our hands down through the center. We'll just do two more of those, raising the arms up. Hands come back down through the center. One more. Then we're going to come to the back of the mat. We can pop our prop off to the back so we don't need it right now. So we're going to come to the back of the mat. We'll bring the toes together and the knees about as wide as the mat. And we're going to walk our hands forward into our Adho Mukha Vrasana, our downward facing warrior. So bringing your forehead either onto the mat or onto a block, reaching the arms out in front, and we're pushing the hips back towards the heels. And while we're here, keeping our hands down, our forehead on the mat, I just want you to take a moment to think of one thing you're grateful for today. Make it something really easy, like what you had for breakfast, or maybe the sun's shining today. Just take a moment to have a little bit of gratitude just as we settle into the pose, just for a few more breaths. See if we can keep our exhales nice and long and slow while we're here. And we'll take the gaze between the hands, and we're going to come up into our tabletop position, into our Bidhalasana, our cat-cow. So we're going to inhale, take the gaze up, lift the sit bones, open the chest. And then we'll exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin, really pushing the spine up towards the ceiling or the sky. We'll follow through a few more times, inhaling up, exhaling to round. Remember to make sure your fingers are really nice and spread wide on the mat here. And you can push the tops of your feet into the mat a little bit as well. Okay, and then we're going to come into our first downward facing dog of the class. So we'll take our hands about one hand span in front of where they are now, and then we're going to tuck the toes and push our hips back towards the back of the mat. So we're going to push our hips back. We can have a really nice generous bend in our knees for this first one especially. Our arms are really nice and straight. Remember, we can drop the knees at any point we need to. And we could take the gaze between the feet or up towards our belly button. I'm going to take a few breaths here, feeling nice and strong, really pushing the hips back so we kind of look like an upside down V. And maybe just take a moment here to feel grateful for your body as well, for everywhere it takes you, for everything it does. And Take one more breath. And then we're going to raise our left leg. We're going to take our left leg between our hands. I'm going to drop our back knee. We're going to come into our runner's lunge, our Ashtha Shanchalanasana. And we're going to make sure that we have some rough alignment between our knee and our ankle. And then our first option would be to stay with our fingertips on the mat. Our second option could be to come up, bring our hands onto our thigh. And our third option might be to raise our arms up. Arms could be wide, palms could be together. You could even take your gaze up towards the ceiling if that's what feels comfortable in your body today. So let's take a nice big deep breath here. Seeing if we can keep our exhales nice and long, nice and slow. We'll see if we can just keep our focus on our breath still. And just on what's happening in our body. Okay, so we're going to plant the hands. We're going to step our left foot all the way back to our downward facing dog. Really nice widespread fingers, remember, for downward facing dog. Push the hips back. And then we're going to raise our right leg this time. We're going to bring that between the hands. Drop the back knee. Some alignment between the knee and the ankle. Fingertips can come onto the mat. Thigh. Or you can raise the arms up. You could even take the gaze up towards the sky if that's comfortable in your neck. Just choosing whichever option feels best in your body today. So a couple of breaths here. You should feel a nice stretch on the left hand side of your hip, and if you don't, you might want to move that left knee back a little bit. One more breath here. And then we're going to plant the hands. We'll take the left foot forward. And we're going to come all the way up to our half lift. Remember, nice flat back, hands can come onto the shins. Gaze comes just in front. And then we're going to fold all the way forward into our forward fold. Big bend in the knees, torso and thighs come to touch. Fingertips could be either side of the toes. Or you could take hold of opposite elbows if that's what felt good in your body today. We'll take a nice big deep breath here. You could have a little sway from side to side if that felt comfortable. And just seeing if wherever we are in this pose we can feel quite nice and comfortable. Just remembering that yoga is a practice of kind of accepting our body instead of improving it. And just looking to find some comfort and some ease here. And then we'll inhale, raise our arms all the way up, and we can come towards the front of our mat. Raise the arms up. We could bring the palms together. We could bend our back slightly, take our gaze up towards the ceiling. And we'll exhale, bring our hands down by our sides. So we're going to come into our mountain pose. You can stay at the front of your mat. So we're going to come into our mountain pose, and we're going to have our feet about as wide as the hips, or they could be touching. And we're going to bring our arms down by our sides. Palms open, fingers spread nice and wide, nice strong arms. We're going to relax the shoulders. We might have a little tuck in the chin, a slight bend in the knees so our thighs are active. We'll draw our belly button in. So we're actually doing quite a lot here. This is the foundation for our standing poses, our mountain pose. Take a nice big deep breath in. And a nice big long exhale. Just see if we can stay connected with the breath here and throughout the rest of the class. Okay, so we'll open up the eyes and we'll come into our first balancing pose. So we're going to raise our left leg and we're going to bring our knee out towards the side. And we're going to take our right arm out towards the side. So this might be a little bit tricky already, or we could maybe even take our gaze all the way over to the right hand. And we'll take a nice big deep breath here. And remember, if you fall down, just come straight back up. Okay, great job. And we're going to swap over to the other side. We'll take our right leg out this time. Left leg out to the side. Take our gaze over towards the fingertips. Remember, if you're a bit wobbly, that's fine. One more breath here. Okay, great. We're going to come back down. So we'll come back to the front of our mat. And we're going to step back with our right leg first. And we're going to come into our Trikonasana, our triangle pose. But we'll actually grab hold of our book or block first. We'll pop that at the front of the mat because we might need it. So we're going to come into our triangle pose. So we take about one leg length, maybe one and a little bit, and we're going to bring our heel of our front foot and our arch of our back foot so they're in line with each other. So imagining an invisible line down the side of the mat, and then the toes of the back foot will turn in slightly. So we'll raise our arms up, and then reaching all the way forward as far as you can. And then when you can't reach any further, you're going to rotate the left hand down, the right arm up. If you had your block or book there and you needed a little bit of support, you could pop that block just right under your hand, raise the right arm up, take the gaze up towards the fingertips, or if that feels a bit strange in the neck, you can just keep the gaze down on that left foot. So we'll take one big deep breath here, and one big long slow exhale, and then we're just going to come up through center. We'll grab our block and we might pop that on the other side in case we need it, and then we're just going to swivel around towards the other side. So right toes come forward this time, toes of the back foot turn in slightly. We'll raise the arms, we'll reach all the way forward, and when we can't reach any further, we'll take the hand onto our leg and we'll raise the left arm up, and we'll maybe tuck the chin, take the gaze up towards the ceiling, or we can keep the gaze nice and low on that bottom foot. And remember to keep focusing on breathing here, so nice long slow exhale if we can. And if you're feeling a little bit wobbly, you could take use of your book or anything that you have that you've got lying around the house that you can use. One more breath. Okay, then we're going to come to the center. We can pop our block off to the side, and we're going to bring our feet as wide as we can, as wide as we feel comfortable. We'll have our toes turned in, so they're a little bit more turned in than our heels. And we're going to bring our hands, first of all, onto our hips, and we're going to come halfway so our back is nice and flat. And if we feel really comfortable there, we can take our hands and we can bring them onto the floor, and we can keep our back nice and flat. Gaze just comes straight down onto the floor. And the next option that we might have, if we feel like we'd like to come a little bit further today, is we could bring the palms of the hands onto the mat and kind of slowly bring the top of the head so it's kind of working its way towards the mat. But we don't want to push here, so remember, we just want to stay somewhere that feels really quite nice and comfortable. So if that's just up here on our fingertips, that's great. If you feel like coming down a bit further today, fingertips can come in line with the toes, and you can slowly lower the top of the head down towards the mat. So choosing the option that works best for you and your body today. Take a few deep breaths here. You should be able to feel this in the back of your legs. Just taking a couple of moments. Just seeing if we can accept our body here today. And try and not push it. This is a practice of kindness, remember, so we'll try and be kind to our body. And 2 more deep breaths here. Okay, and then we're going to come back to halfway if we've come further, and then we're going to bring our hands onto our hips, and we're just going to use the strength of our body to bring us all the way back up, and then we'll shimmy our feet back towards each other, and we'll come to the front of the mat. So inhale, raise the arms up. Exhale, folding all the way forward. Nice big bend in the knees for our Uttanasana once again. We'll inhale up to our half lift. Then we'll exhale, plant the hands. We're going to step back into our downward facing dog, pushing our hips back. One big breath here. And we'll lower the knees. So we might like to grab our prop, which could be a book, a block, or a cushion, and we'll just pop that on towards the back of our mat, and we'll just come to sit on that prop. We're going to come into a few seated poses, so just make sure you feel nice and comfortable. Ideally, we're looking to have our knees a little bit lower than our hips, so grabbing a prop, maybe that'll help you to do that. So our first pose is going to be Baddha Konasana, which is our bound angle pose, and we'll bring the soles of our feet together. And if this is a little bit difficult, you could push the soles of the feet a little bit further away, or if you feel quite comfortable, you can bring them quite close. So first of all, we're going to sit up really nice and tall. We'll relax the shoulders, and then we'll take a nice big deep breath into the belly if we can. Nice big long slow exhale. And then we're going to fold forward slightly and bring our hands just around the fronts of our toes. If that's far too uncomfortable, we could just stay sitting up completely. That will be fine. Otherwise, we can bring our fingers around our toes here, and we want to make sure our back stays nice and flat, and we can take our gaze down to our feet. So we're going to have a few slower poses here, so we're going to stay in these poses just a little bit longer and just see if we can try and be present in the pose and stay connected with our breath while we're here. If you feel like there was a little bit further that you could come, you could slowly lower your body down, and you can come down as far as feels comfortable in your body today. We'll just make sure that nothing feels uncomfortable or sharp or any pains that aren't good. We want to make sure we feel nice and comfortable here. And we're not looking to push here. We're just looking to let the body relax into the pose. Maybe we could close down the eyes if we feel nice and comfortable. See how we feel here today. So sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable to stay here for a little bit longer, so you can always back out of the pose a little bit if you feel like you've come too far, or you might like to come a little bit further if you feel like you've opened up slightly. I'm going to take a few breaths. And we're going to bring our hands back up towards our body, and we're going to take our right leg out first, and we'll bring our left heel in. So we'll take our right leg out, and simply all that we're going to do is rotate our body towards that leg. And the first option could be just to bring our hands onto our thigh, or if you feel like you'd like to come a little bit further, you could come forward, maybe take hold of the outside edge of your foot, but we want to make sure that our spine is really nice and straight while we do that. We don't kind of just fold into it to get there. So we're sitting up really nice and tall, shoulders are nice and relaxed, and then we might reach a little further forward over towards that foot or that leg, just to a place that feels good. Take a few breaths here. You might like to close down the eyes if you feel comfortable. Again, focusing on the breath. And we'll make sure the toes are pointing up towards the sky and pulling back towards the knee slightly. Breathing into the belly, nice long slow exhale. Okay, wonderful. And we'll slowly walk our hands back to center if we have come forward, and then we'll swap over sides. So right leg comes in and left leg comes out. If the prop that you're sitting on, the block or the cushion, is a bit uncomfortable, you could take that away if you didn't need it any longer. So we'll rotate the body first. Remember, sitting up really nice and tall, and this could be a great place to stay. It might be the place where your body benefits the most, especially if you've got tight hamstrings. It might be fine to just stay here. If you feel like you'd like to come a little bit further, you could walk your hands down a little further. You could take hold of your foot. We want to keep our spine really nice and straight, and we'll make sure not to just tuck our chin. We'll keep our gaze either towards the feet, or if we close our eyes, we'll make sure that our chin doesn't drop. So just taking a few breaths. Remember, really just accepting where our body comes in the pose today. We're not pushing or trying to force it to come any further. That won't provide us with any benefits. So most of the benefits of yoga in terms of stretching come from actually staying in a place where we feel quite comfortable, where our posture is nice, our spine's usually quite nice and straight. So you don't need to be really flexible to enjoy the practice. You just need to come to a place that feels comfortable in your body. Maybe one more deep breath here. And then we're going to walk ourselves back up to center. And we're just going to come to a simple cross-legged pose. So that could be with your ankles together, or in a kind of more traditional cross-legged with your knees out towards the side. We'll raise the arms up, and then we'll twist around to the right. So left hand comes onto the right thigh, right hand comes onto our lower back. We'll sit up really nice and tall, and we'll take our gaze behind us. As we inhale, we might lengthen up through the spine. As we exhale, we might twist around a little further. Remember, if there's any painful or sharp sensations, we can just back off a little bit. Okay, we'll raise our arms all the way up, over to the other side. Left hand comes onto the low back, right hand comes onto the thigh. Really nice and tall. We'll make sure we relax the shoulders. Could take the gaze behind us. Just come as far round as it feels natural. Don't use this hand to kind of lever your way around too much. It's just a gentle hand on the thigh. Sitting up nice and tall. Back into center, and then we're going to come to lay down on our mat for our final pose, our resting pose, our Shavasana. So we're going to come to lay down, really simply laying down on our mat. Our hands are down by our sides, palms facing upwards. We allow our legs to completely relax. We might move our shoulders down a little bit so there's some more space. Our hands are down by our side. We could grab a blanket and pop that over us if we're feeling a little bit cold. That might be quite nice. And we're going to simply take a few minutes to just allow the practice to have some time to settle in, and to allow us for a little bit of time to just relax and let go. So there's nothing you need to do here. Nobody you need to be, nowhere you need to go. Just for the next few minutes, just see if you could just allow the body to feel heavy, and maybe with every exhale, imagine the body feeling a little bit more relaxed and a little heavier. Distracted by our thoughts, we'll be really nice and kind and gentle, and just invite our attention back onto our body, onto our breath. And being okay with that, seeing if we can just accept our kind of monkey mind today, if that's what's going on for us. We can be accepting of anything that's happening in our body, any tightness. I like to see if we can have some gratitude for the body. All of the miles that our body carries us and the things that it lifts. You might like to just have a little bit of gratitude and gratefulness just for everything the body allows us to do. Even if sometimes it doesn't always work in the way we want it to, we can still be grateful. Make sure that your jaw is relaxed, the shoulders are relaxed and sinking into the floor. Namaste, and then we'll start to wiggle the fingers and the toes and wake the body back up. So we might like to take a stretch or kind of roll into a ball, whatever feels most natural, whatever you need to do. And then we'll roll over onto our favorite side. Maybe we could keep our eyes closed or our eyes downcast. We'll just take a moment on our side, and then maybe trying to keep our eyes closed, we'll come up to a seated position. You could just come into a simple cross-legged, or just simply come to sit on your knees. And we're going to bring our hands to our heart center, our Anjali Mudra, our prayer position. And close down the eyes. Maybe seeing if we could just send a little bit of love to our bodies and accept them just as they are today. And then we'll bow our head, hands still at our heart center, and we'll say Namaste. Thanks for joining me for class today. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you had any comments, please pop them in the comments below. It'd be great if you could subscribe or share the video with anyone who you think might need it. And thanks again for watching. Namaste.